So where we're at now with Dora, I'm working with her on staying between the aids and just really all that kind of refinement stuff. Staying between the leg, picking up her shoulder, bending smoothly without over exaggerating too much. You know, kind of starting to get on the bit and collect a little bit. And I like to do what I'm doing with her right now is the serpentine, and I really like to, at this level, do a lot of warming up with serpentines and figures like that, and not warm up along the rail, because, you know, just all the turning and changing of bend, and, you know, I really play with, it's not just about left turn, right turn, but I really play with thinking of it more as a half circle, and that half circle might be bigger or smaller or medium size, and you know, you can really kind of adjust, okay, I'm going to bring it into a small circle, so my horse has to listen to my outside aids to keep bringing it into a smaller circle. Or now I'm going to make it a bigger circle, so I'm going to push him out a little with my inside leg. And so, you know, I do a lot of that, and she's already been kind of warmed up now. I ledged her and had been trotting serpentines for a little while. She's doing very good with her 20-meter circle. When you get her warmed up in the serpentines and get her really paying attention to your aids, then she's very maneuverable. One of the things, though, that we are really working on is her tempo. She tends to change her tempo a lot. You know, she'll get going a little bit too fast, and then you try to kind of bring her back to you a bit, and she'll almost come down to a walk. And so just kind of working on keeping a steady, consistent, good working jog tempo, and not pushing forward too fast, but then not coming down too slow. And you really feel it riding her. I don't know how well you can see it on the footage, but you really feel it riding her through, you know, you go to make a turn and she slows down a lot. You let her go straight for a while and she wants to kind of get faster. So we've just been doing a lot of, you know, we'll do some figures and then maybe go along the rail for a little while and then do some figures and just kind of test her, you know, do bigger circles and smaller circles, and really try to keep her, you know, make her keep that tempo the same. So through here, she's, you know, kept in this circle, not really wanting to obey my outside aid, so I took her around one more time, and then now I went ahead and changed direction. So I just kind of keep playing with it until their horse is where I want him to be. Very, very nice upward transition into a canter for her. She, at this point, had been loped under saddle less than a handful of times, so that was a very nice, smooth transition for her. So she's just really having to kind of get her coordination and her balance, cantering with the rider. Like I said, she's only done it a few times. So I'm just kind of keeping her in a large circle and not being too terribly, you know, strict with her frame or anything like that, but just trying to support her. And then when I asked her to come down, if you notice, she kind of wanted to just come right down into a stop. And so even though she had a great canter, I'm going to push her forward into a jog, because I only asked her to come down into a jog. And then I'll go ahead and repeat, and see if she'll come down just to a jog instead of wanting to stop. There we go. Because you want to develop that distinction. You don't want to just have one downward transition cue that just means transition down to whatever. And, you know, they could throw a trot or a walk or a stop at you. You want to have a distinction. You should be able to go from a lope to a stop, a lope to a walk, or a lope to a jog, whatever you want to do. And the key is with your transitions, obviously she's still green, so we're not asking that much of her yet, but you should be able to go from a really nice jog into a really nice canter. Now, I want to point out there, that's the first time that she has ever been able to lope under saddle and pick up the right lead the first time I asked. She's really struggled on the line and under saddle. She's struggled with the right lead quite a bit, so I've got her wrapped differently today. I have the right front leg and the left hind leg wrapped for the right lead canter. So because the right has been very difficult for her, she picked it up immediately and she kept the size of her circle really well. I went ahead and brought her down, and you know, we're just going to move on, because if I don't want to drill her too much. You know, once you have a horse that's getting really good at something and you're fine-tuning, then you can spend a lot more time on it. But I asked her for a right lead, she gave it to me immediately, and she kept it nicer than she has ever been able to yet, so I'll go ahead and bring her down and move on to something else, so she knows that she's done it correctly. I'm not going to sit there and continue to drill her and make her lope a whole bunch of circles. There's not going to be any point to it, because if she starts to get tired, she'll want to switch back to the left, and then I'll be back with the same problem that I had before. So I want to encourage her to, you know, be picking up the correct lead by, when she does it correctly, moving on. And then, going back to that point that I was making with the transitions, you should be able to transition up from a nice, good working jog up into a nice, good working lope and back down. So you don't want to have it where you're trotting along and you want to lope and your horse is kind of faster until eventually they break into the canter. You also don't want to have it where, as you're loping along, you know, you bring your horse down and they come down into this really choppy, fast, bouncy trot. You should come down into a really nice quality jog. So after I loped her, I brought her back to the serpentine. I didn't let her just quit. You know, obviously a horse that maybe the first 1 or 2 times you lope them under saddle, you can go ahead and quit and, you know, give them a break is fine. But then you want to really start working on bringing them down to a jog and going into a figure 8 or a serpentine or a circle or something like that, and bring them back to a quality jog before you let them have a break, so that the quicker that they come back to a quality jog, whether it takes them a whole serpentine up the arena or it takes them one stride, that's when they'll get their break.
I'm slouching again.
Yeah. You gotta stop doing that.
No.
Do you notice anything wrong with this picture?
There's no horse in it.
No? The earth is crooked.
Probably means the tripod was crooked.
Yeah. You gotta check that. You gotta check that.
There it is.
Okay, so now we're working on the turn on the haunches. And we've done this several times, and she's getting pretty good at it. Her main only thing is that she'll start to get heavy on the bit. So she's starting to really free up her shoulders, but she'll want to really pull on you a little bit. Not a good girl. And I do it from a walk, and then I'll usually take her right back into a walk. Excellent. But then again, her footwork is all really nice, but you can see her kind of wanting to pull on the bit just a little bit. And it's not that she's being unresponsive, she just wants to kind of hang on me a bit. And so I'm kind of just been working on softening her up through the turns. And then you walk out of it because it's a forward movement. Otherwise you get issues with horses wanting to cross under instead of cross over, and they'll start to die on you. You might get a few steps and then you have trouble getting them going again, or they'll swing the hind end out, because if you have the horse too shut down, then you won't do the movement correctly. It's got to be a forward movement. So with most green horses, unless occasionally you get one that's too forward that they don't pay attention to their feet, but with most horses you're going to teach this from a walk and then immediately walk them out of it. So we just started on side passing. I think this is the second ride that I've worked on side passing with her. So she wants to get kind of crooked and she wants to throw her shoulder out a little bit, but overall not bad at all because she really doesn't shut down. And part of that is because I've done a lot of the turn on the haunches at a walk, and so she hasn't gotten in the habit of shutting down. So when my leg comes on, she responds to it. She may not know exactly where to go, but she knows she needs to go somewhere. There she goes. So I just keep playing with her until she can keep her hind end and not throw her shoulders out quite so much. There she goes. So once they start to straighten up a little bit, and when you're first time you're teaching it, or if you've got a horse that's struggling with it, then you just get one step sideways and give to him. But she's took to this pretty easily. She just doesn't really want to stay straight. That was outside of the view of the camera. We had a little tornado come up all of a sudden out of nowhere, so that wasn't really her fault. And so I just go back to the side pass. And I just keep on her until she can keep that hind end with her. Because if your horse side passes crooked or throws that shoulder out, it's going to be impossible if you ever think that you're going to want to side pass over a pole or anything. There she goes. There. And then as soon as that hind comes with her, I stop and praise her a little bit, and then I ask her again to the same side. Because she did pretty well going towards the right off of my left leg, but to this side she struggles a little bit more. So I just keep working on pushing that hind. And then once her hind catches up with her front, then I'll go ahead and release. And there's a couple ways that you can keep the shoulders in and push that hind over. There she goes. That was good. You can tip the head a little bit more, and you can also be a little stronger with your outside rein back and down to kind of keep those shoulders in better. She's wanting to be a little bit forward. There she goes. Good. Those last couple of steps were very nice.